Welcome again to another podcast of Hidalgo. Today we have Lars Bachman from Kreuzwerk. And the topic for today is, are we any different than our neighboring countries towards what's going on in Atlassian? Lars, could you just situate yourself who you are?
Hi. Thanks for having me here today. I'm Lars. Let's call me Lars. From Kreuzwerk, and I've been around in the Atlassian ecosystem for quite a while. I just recently started at Kreuzwerk, which is like an Atlassian Platinum Solution Partner in Germany, providing all sorts of Atlassian services plus AWS plus all other things. Have a look at the website, check it out. I am here as head of Atlassian sales, and I came a long way from being a journalist to sort of Atlassian person now. Yeah, I'm happy to be here, and I hope that's enough for an introduction, for a short introduction, not to.
Well, we like to keep it short and direct. It keeps it efficient. Otherwise, we lose our listeners if it would take a half an hour for your intro.
For some reasons, Germans are famous for being efficient.
Yeah.
And then you look at our airports.
Oh my God! What's with the airport? It runs on Atlassian or?
No, even worse. No, it's just like now the new Berlin airport. They wanted to have that finished 8 years ago.
Oh, okay. Well, what I know is that the Belgian airport, the national airport, runs on the Atlassian stack, fully on data center. So they run, they have all finished in time.
Yes, that makes a difference, I guess.
Of course, implemented by you know who. The topic, as said in the beginning, Lars, was that Atlassian launched a little bit of a, well, you could call it almost a nuclear bomb. In October, getting the end of support for server in 2024 with, of course, the preceding steps on it. And since the customers always hear our voice and the idea around it, I thought it might be a good idea to see just how it goes on in Germany. What are the ideas and how do the customers think strategically towards the future? Is that with Atlassian? And if yes, how do they foresee it? So the first topic would be kind of a question would be, how was the perception, reaction of the Atlassian customers in Germany for the end of support for the server?
Oh, very broad mix of different reactions we received here. Some of them were shocked, some of them were happy, or some of them were just like, okay, what do we need to do now, right now? If there is any urgency, yes, no, tell me, please, help us. And what we try to do is like just explaining the situation. I personally was waiting for this signal, and I guess every single Atlassian solution partner was aware of this coming at a certain point in time. And I'd say I would have favored an Atlassian announcement even earlier, like the last on-site Atlassian Summit. This would have been like a good day to tell the world. Why would I say that? Simply because everything is going in the cloud direction, and if you want to end up as Nokia, yeah, well, go on another path, and by 2025, like almost everybody will have all of its services in any sort of like a SaaS model, cloud service, whatsoever. And it's sometimes hard to let things go, like the good old customized Jira server monster you created 5 years ago or 10 years ago, and that was like that served you well for a long time. But it's just like with all of the other costs that's coming along with that, I think it's just like a good idea to move on to cloud. And I really do think this, and I would have told the world earlier, even earlier. But the reaction of the clients were mixed. Some were happy, or just were like easy to calm down, because it's not the end of the world. That's what we are trying to tell them. They are on a transition from server to data center or to cloud. But obviously, loads of these clients did some renewals before, because they are not ready to move on to cloud right now and straight away.
So you could say in this case that probably mainly your larger customers will have postponed their move to either a cloud or a data center.
They just, well, we just told them there's no time to panic. It's time to plan carefully. And what does this mean? You don't need to rush to the cloud. If you think that your customer is, like for large enterprises, they have highly customized environments, and it's not done overnight and not done in a day or a week. It takes a lot of more preparation, and you need a budget for this project, for the migration to the cloud, if you want to go cloud. And we just told them, keep calm, think about your options. Let's explore the options. Let's see what's possible right now. And then let's create a plan, create a good plan, how you want to move on. Because one thing was quite clear for almost every single company I talked to, they don't want to move to another tool. They're not moving, like there are not like hundreds of companies I talk to who want to move to another tool or looking for another tool. That's simply not the case at this point in time. I haven't experienced that. So they want to stick with the Atlassian tool stack. But yes, some of them are going to data center now as a first step, I'd say.
Yeah. So in fact, it's very similar to Belgium, where coming down, it would be by giving the necessary information and the heads up why, etc. Of course, the biggest impact was if you have a renewal for a server and you pay 100,000 euro on your renewals of your server. If you go to cloud, you will be at least at 300,000 euro, which is a significant budget change for many of the customers. Or you're going to data center with the price increase on data center. That was the most furious reactions on the price changes, not on the fact that they're going to cloud, because as you said, most of them were quite open and even willingly to go to a SaaS environment. But that price increase, and of course, some other topic that comes to it. How would you describe the market now, 6 months after the bomb was dropped? Well, as you said, also we expected and we warned our customers like already a year up front that one day or the other server would come to an end. How's the reaction now? Do you see more offers, the demand for offers for migrations coming in, or did they make choices for one or the other?
I think it's starting slowly. I think we're gonna have like a massive migration impact in our business in a year or even in 2 years. There will be a rush into cloud and services and data center in 2 years. At the moment, it's just like it's like a background noise that is growing constantly, and more people are asking these questions. How can we do it? Is the cloud ready for us? Are we ready for the cloud? Question mark. And these discussions are more often happening right now. Yeah, that's true. But I'd say one additional impact, like Corona has an additional impact, obviously. So people are focused on other topics maybe, and as you just said, they're having well-performing systems they implemented a couple of years ago, especially in the enterprise environment, and it takes time to change these things, and it takes time to move these things in the big companies in that direction or this direction. And we are having these talks, and we are having conversations about like cloud premium, enterprise cloud, and all these options that are on the table. Yes, and we are doing these implementation when we're having new implementations of Jira Service Management and so on. Then it is more likely that it's happening faster. Like like when we are telling them about their options, then they're going to cloud. Full stop.
Mm-hmm.
So that's an easier sales cycle for me, and that's why I wanted Atlassian to tell the truth, not to tell the truth, but to tell the world a year earlier. Simply because for me as a salesperson, it's easier to sell it if the options are a bit easier to understand, if they are more limited. If I'm having 10,000 options, it's sometimes hard to explain what to pick and what to choose. And now it's getting better. It's getting easier because the server is obviously no option anymore, and the sales talk go to cloud is easier, 10 times easier.
Yeah, yeah. Although the implementation process is, on the other hand, way longer. It's certainly, if you have a customized server environment, you need to make, I would say, compromises, because functionalities you used to have in server will not be available in cloud. But as you said in the beginning, the good part is that it's a very good moment for all customers to review their way of working in Jira and to reinvent themselves, or with or without help, to reinvent themselves while they're going to the cloud, or even a data center could be the same option.
That's why we are doing cloud assessments. Just like talking to the customer and let's find out your cloud readiness. How customized is what you have, and just like to make sure that they are not running into massive problems when they are not trying to evaluate this right now, or at least in a year of time. They might run into trouble, because yes, you are right, some of these migrations will be massive migrations, and not a migration by hitting a button. It will take weeks and months to do that. And yes, these large enterprise customers with very customized platforms, they should start at a certain point in time this year, early next year, to plan this carefully.
Maybe important to know for our listeners/viewers is that when there is a migration from server to a cloud, Atlassian has foreseen a kind of scenario which a partner has to follow. You need to make a support ticket upfront to be sure you get your support during the migration. And you can follow the assessment file, the playbook as it's called. So in that way, you could say it's a kind of I wouldn't call it a certified, but we follow the process that Atlassian has foreseen for those migrations. So it's not always the partner that decides on what, where, how, and when it will happen. Also, Atlassian took a bit of liberty in setting up a playbook that a partner needs to follow if you want any support on that. Just for the figures and to have an idea, because if you see around SaaS and cloud in general, but also Atlassian says that cloud is very popular, but how big was your install base on server? If you have your customers, how many % were on server until last year?
well, last year, roughly 90% were server or data, well, server data center deployment. Yeah, definitely. That's like the massive, large enterprise companies, they just had no cloud in place. They were having their AWS, they were having their Azure, and then applications on top of that. Yeah, true. So that's what cloud meant for them. But at the same time, these enterprise companies, they do have their SaaS solutions already in place. If it's like Salesforce, if it's like a version of SAP or whatever it is, or Google and Office programs. So they're using already SaaS solutions. But it's true, for the Atlassian tool stack, that's sort of new.
Mm. So what you would call for larger customers or customers based in medical, banking, military, high-tech environments, what's the biggest blocker for them to go to cloud?
No, well, there are some blockers Atlassian is working on, like 100% full data residency GDPR in the cloud. That's very important for them. Bring your own key is an issue. So there are a lot of things Atlassian needs to address, and I'm quite optimistic as when I saw the Atlassian roadmap, what they want to do in 2021 and 2, and what's on their roadmap. I'm quite optimistic that they have a good chance of moving a lot of these clients to the cloud. Maybe not all. There will some clients left that need to move on or need to stay on data center. Yeah, definitely, for sure. They won't move to cloud, at least not in the next 1 or 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what Atlassian described it as journey to cloud, and that's exactly what it is. They can now totally focus on the cloud products and the development of new features and capabilities of the Atlassian cloud products. And I think what we saw in the past, they will speed up now. They have more focus. They have a clear business decision in that direction. And so their high investment in the cloud will pay off. So we benefit from that, even if there are some features and some things missing right now. I'm quite optimistic that they will handle it the right way.
We know that data residency is announced for standard and premium environments. It was already available in the enterprise.
Yeah.
But the issue was still that, of course, Atlassian has a marketplace with add-on vendors. I don't know the exact number. I think there are about 4,000 add-ons available for the moment. But those add-ons in the cloud, they work through an API. And so they take data out of the Atlassian Cloud, work on it somewhere in a data center in the world, and then through the API back into the cloud, which is a breach of data residency. And therefore, Atlassian has also released the Forge platform, which makes it possible to add features and to customize directly in the Atlassian environment, of course, within the framework that is available. Just as a fact that is, can we add it to it? We talked about data residency, we talked about GDPR, which are very hot topics in Europe.
Yeah.
We have Forge, and you already touched a few times the timeline. Well, most customers will move to the cloud. You said, well, for the moment, it's quite calm. Most of the customers will did their renewals and will probably change, start their journey end of this year, maybe somewhere next year. And then we'll move probably in 2022, 23. Is that the case? Same case in Germany? Is that?
That's what I do expect. Yeah, that's true. I do expect people. There will be like the last year before server really dies will be like gold rush for everybody who's like capable of doing some serious Atlassian craftsmanship and migration stuff, because there were that's what I tell people now. Don't wait too long. Get prepared. Simply because when you will end up in a mess when like server is really almost dead, and then you are looking around for a solution partner that helps you with a complicated migration. You can easily end up in trouble because resources are limited, if we don't see massive improvement in automation, in migration automation in the next 2 years, loads of these things needs to, well, manually transferred or manually touched at least. And therefore I would, when I would be responsible for a huge enterprise company for the Atlassian tool stack, I would at least block some time in the near future. If I do have the feeling that I can't handle it on my own, I would at least block some resources somewhere next year, like looking ahead in the future and making sure I will get the help I eventually need later on.
Yeah, because I think it's a smart thing, as you said, that to the customers that have some time and in the meanwhile the cloud matures. But as you mentioned, and a very important part, the migration path from the add-ons, because you have the migration path for the tools, which is not that complicated. But then you have all the data that are used by the add-ons, and they do not always have a migration path available for now. I know a lot of them are working on it or have it available already, but many don't. And indeed, then it becomes a manual, very specialized work. And then the customer will need to set his priorities. Do I want all the history with copied with or not? Do I just want the recent facts copied with it? Because everything will determine if your migration will be 5 days or it will be 50 days to migrate to a cloud environment. Certainly, if you have a lot of script runner scripts active and customized fields everywhere and so on and so on, so it will, and plenty of add-ons, then it will be complicated. So within 2 years, maybe, or 1 year, most of those add-on vendors will have an automated version of their migration to the.
Yes, but it's just like I would carefully watch it, just to make sure I don't end up in a dead end, where I'm where I can't find somebody helping me anymore, because everybody is sold out.
Indeed. Well, we already feel we have a large customers. Some of them already started the journey. They are preparing by budgeting, by looking into how much time it will cost and so on. And then the most difficult part for them is their internal organization, because there are so many teams in big, large companies that work with it, and everyone has their own way of working in it. So there will be a lot of fighting or constructive exchange of ideas going on in those companies. I'd like to end with is that with the discussion we had so far on the topics of everything, is that it's very similar, Belgium and Germany, or we're neighboring countries, but it could have been that there could be a difference. But my main topic was that for my customers, it's to have the idea that it's not different anywhere else. It's the same 90% of server, same amount of questions, same ideas on everything. But let's say, regardless of going to the cloud now, there is one topic I'm always interested in. If other countries have the same, what you could call hype or hot topic, like
Clubhouse.
2 years ago, we had a lot of questions about Jira Service Management, Jira Service Desk at the time. And it came like everybody in the same time. It was like that was the topic, together with asset management. That was the hit. Now I think I got in 1 week time 5 demands for PMO, for example, big picture, the structures, the advanced roadmaps, and so on, everything that has to do with connectivity to agile / safe even, which seem to be the next thing coming up. Is that the same for you?
Well, I'd say yes. I can experience the same, like from client side or demands, portfolio management, project management at scale.
Yeah.
In a
resource management, budget.
Exactly, combined with resource management, and then having tempo in place, having structure in place, easy BI, big picture, you name it, like all these fancy apps you can bring into the game to get more insight into what's really happening in your instances, in your project management. That's like still very like a hot topic, very hot topic. I can see a connection, and it's gonna be even bigger when Atlassian will have that Jira work management in place. That would be like the next step when Atlassian is just like having new templates and layers and other things to make it just easier to work with Jira for non-tech teams. That's like a big market that will be a hot topic, a very hot topic, I assume. And what is always somewhere around is test management. That's very important. A very hot topic, test management. I've seen like massive large enterprise companies trying to get rid of legacy tools, and if it comes to test management, and because they are using Jira already, and then they're adding X-Ray or other apps for test management on top of it. That's very important, I'd say. But yes, the good thing with the Atlassian tool suite is like you can land in almost every single department of a company. It's not software development alone, not at all. It's just like knowledge management is just project management at scale, or just like normal project management. Very tiny little companies are asking us, look, we have 100 clients and they are sending us emails. Can't we handle it better? Of course they can. Of course they could have, even if it's a 10 people company, a very small, tiny company, they could easily set up like a Jira service management or Jira service desk, just like or Jira to do their little projects. And that would eventually help them very much. They still work with email for project management. They still work with Excel for project management. And yes, they can't afford to deep dive into handling the software. So the cloud is their only option, their only usable option. I think there's a massive, huge market that is still not conquered, explored for Atlassian tools.
Indeed. I think that's absolutely the same trajectory that we have we see and we hear from our customers on that topic. I think we came a little bit at the end of our podcast. Then, of course, obligatory, I need to say, Lars, thank you very much for your time. And we hope to meet one another again when the COVID is past on the next, hopefully again somewhere,
yes,
in Las Vegas or somewhere else in the world.
Vegas. I would love to go Vegas, definitely. Yes, home office is nice for a while, but I really do miss the offices. and the places where you are traveling to. And yes, it's something is missing. Maybe we don't need to return to the moving around at that scale as we did before. Maybe we realized that's not necessary. But every now and then, an event, a meeting, it's not that bad.
No, absolutely not. Thank you very much. And I wish you a very great day. And we talk to one another again. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.